Hello everyone. Today I want to discuss with you a very controversial topic regarding Magic the Gathering. Whenever on YouTube, social media, the reserves list is mentioned, it's always a controversial topic with pro and cons. There are a lot of players that like the reserves list. There are a lot of players that want Wizard of the Coast to remove the reserve list. Today I want to discuss with you how Wizard of the Coast are doing wrong regarding the reserve list. As you know, the reserve list was created back in 1990s when Chronicles was released. A lot of players were, a lot of collectors and investors and even players were outraged at Wizard of the Coast because they saw their cards, their precious cards, being reprinted and therefore the price plummeting down. A lot of collectors, players, speculators, investors outraged at Wizard of the Coast, and Wizard of the Coast created the reserve list. I believe that the reserve list is an important tool to be used by Wizard of the Coast. How Wizard of the Coast can use the reserve list for their advantage. I believe that currently they are not using it. I believe that currently they are afraid of touching the reserve list. They are afraid of losing players if they touch the reserve list. But I believe that Wizard of the Coast can use the reserve list to their advantage without harming no players, no collectors, no investors. Wizard of the Coast need to acknowledge the fact that their market is divided in three categories. There are collectors, there are investors, and there are players. And they need to take care of all the three types of market. If one of these type of market collapses, the whole game collapses. If collectors don't want to collect cards, then people will not buy booster boxes. People will not buy single cards. And therefore, when you have a particular market collapsing, everyone will have a disadvantage. So how I think Wizard of the Coast need to use the reserve list as a marketing tool. Instead of trying to hide the reserve list, they need to promote it. And they need also to begin and include new cards in the reserve list. I know a lot of you would not agree with me, but yes, they need to begin adding new cards in the reserve list. Why I'm saying this? Because there are a lot of collectors, there are a lot of investors, and there are a lot of players that have been playing this game for years, for tens of years, for 20 years, for 25 years. And they have cards and they have shown loyalty to Magic the Gathering. Therefore, these need to be rewarded. How do you reward these players, these collectors? You reward them by, for example, from every set you take 3 to 4 cards and put them in the reserve list. Let's take an example. Let's take an example with the Mirrodin block. The first Mirrodin block, Mirrodin, Darksteel, and Fifth Dawn. The best cards in Mirrodin, we have the Gilded Lotus, Tooth and Nail, Platinum Angel, Shield of Caldra, Chalice of the Void, and I included also a Sylvan Scrying. If Wizard of the Coast take 3 of these cards and put them in the reserve list, instead of mass printing them in masters, you are rewarding loyal players that played during Mirrodin. Yes, if you take a Platinum Angel, a Tooth and Nail, and the Chalice of the Void, you put them in the reserve list, these cards will go up in price, but you are going to reward those collectors that played during that time. Let's take another example. Fifth Dome, Aeroc Champion, Crucible of Words, Engineered Explosion, Staff of Domination, Fidelkill Shackles, Crankland Ironworks, Eternal Witness, and the Serum Vision. Choose 3 of these cards and put them in the reserve list. Choose Serum Visions, that is a common, Engineered Explosive, Crucible of Words, and the rest leave it outside reserve list. These 3 cards are in the reserve list, and therefore you're rewarding players, collectors that collected cards during that time. Let's take another example. Kamigawa block, Through the Breach, the Kikijiki, the Kokushu, Glimpse of Nature, Azusa, the Sensei Divining Top, and the Lava Speak. All these cards, 3 of them, you choose 3 of them. Choose Through the Breach, Azusa, Sensei Divining Top, or maybe a Lava Spike, and put them in the reserve list. In this way, you are rewarding everyone that played during the Kamigawa. Another example that I want to show is Misra Bubble. I have a Misra Bubble from the Cold Snap release. This one I found it in my pre-release. I was proud to hold a card of $40. Now this card, with the reprint in the Iconic Masters, has gone down in price. I think I'm not rewarded for that time that I used to play Magic the Gathering in Cold Step release. We can have other examples like the Shocklands of the Ravnica set. Those that played during Ravnica knows how much powerful these cards are and how much pricing these cards were. It's a pity that we are seeing reprints of these cards, and those collectors, investors that had this type of product now seeing their value of their cards going down. I think another example, they can hold events like Apple holds events to promote their products. They can hold events every 6 months. They keep players waiting until they choose 3 to 4 cards from every set and put it in the reserve list. If you take example of the last set release, Ixalan, Carnage Tyrant, Hostage Taker, Unclaimed Territory, Raptor, Ripjo, the Alpha, Atskanta. I think these are the 6 most powerful cards from Ixalan. They hold an event in 6 months' time. They choose 3 cards from the latest release set and they put it in the reserve list. Thus, everyone will be holding cards, speculating which cards will be put in the reserve list, and once the news of the cards that are put in the reserve list is published, you will see a different reaction from the players. Players will be happy to have a Hostage Taker in the reserve list, and they know that this card will never be reprinted. Leave a comment below. What do you think about how Wizards of the Coast can use the reserve list for their advantage, obviously, and even to reward players. To reward players that played during blocks of the 90s and 2000s, to reward players that currently are playing, and in 20 years time a Hostage Taker will have a value of $100 instead of a couple of bucks. Click like to this video if you like it. Subscribe to my channel for more interesting video about Magic the Gathering. Thank you very much.